If you're tired of people not following the process, I completely get it. Here's the number one reason why people don't follow the process at your company. And it doesn't have to do with writing your processes down, because the mistake we always see people make is that they've written their process down 6 months ago. They thought they checked the box. And then beyond that, they're frustrated when people aren't following through on the process. And so I want to show you our process culture flywheel, which is the holistic approach that we recommend companies take to process. We developed this flywheel after working with over hundreds of client sessions and realizing that there's so much more to process than just writing it down. So quick tour around the flywheel. At your core, yes, you have your documented processes and knowledge. That is an absolute standard you must have. And around that, you have three components: training, access, and accountability. Training is that you need to make sure your documented processes are being used in your training for every new hire that walks in the building. Cannot forget about your documented processes when you're training someone. Has to be used. Once that person's up and onboarded, then you need to make sure that they have easy access to your documented process and knowledge, so that when they're sitting down at their desk on the day-to-day, they can easily find an answer. They're not bothering their neighbor, and they're definitely not going back on your training program from 6 months ago to find that answer. That's just a needle in a haystack. They need quick access. We always recommend using a company knowledge base with a search feature to get them that quick access they need. And then finally, you need accountability, and your managers need to be trained on how to hold people accountable to these documented processes. It becomes much easier to hold people accountable when your processes are actually written down, your standards are written down, and you're able to have conversations that are objective based on what had been documented and agreed upon when they onboarded, instead of these feeling conversations that really don't have defined standards, right? So that's the holistic approach that we take to process. We recommend all companies adopt this model because we found that it really helps make process stick, people follow the process, and embeds process within the day-to-day of your company culture.